In this tutorial, I'd like to talk about choosing colors and a little bit about color theory and hexadecimal colors. So I've got a number of websites open here that I'll show you. First of all, I'm on w3schools.com, and then I just clicked on HTML colors. And if you want to follow along with this tutorial, what you can do is go to that page and then click on Try It Yourself right here under color names. And HTML supports 140 standard color names. I would recommend that you use something called a hexadecimal color, and I'll show you what that is in just a second. That's going to give you a lot more to choose from and help you put together a color theme for your website. Now, obviously, with this being a beginning class, there's so much to learn that I'm not going to focus too heavily on color theory, but I will tell you that it's really important to your website. Obviously, if you make a mistake with the colors that go together, you could have some serious accessibility problems or readability problems. You can ruin your website, obviously. So you have to pay attention to what you're choosing. Now, that's hard to do when you're just trying to learn HTML, so I understand that, but I wanted to give you this tutorial just to show you a few things to keep in mind. So if you watch the tutorials from this week of class, we get into some of the basic CSS to change colors, like the style and background color. So this is a code that you may have just learned, and it's pretty simple. It just adds in style equals background color. So this particular code is just applying a background color to a heading that stretches across the page. Not very useful in terms of design necessarily, more just experimenting with colors, obviously. So you can see they've typed in the names right here. I'll show you a different way to get some colors if you think, well, I'm kind of limited here, I don't know what to choose. Well, here's a site, it's called htmlcolorcodes.com, and it allows you to pick anywhere on the color wheel here, the spectrum, and choose what you want, and then move around this little dot right here, and then you'll get some different colors. And what you'll see is a hexadecimal color. So if you look at the top of the screen right here, let me pick like a dark blue. This is a hexadecimal color. It's a hashtag followed by 6 digits, and it is a representation of red, green, and blue. So the first two, that's red, the second two, green, and then the third two are blue. And then this is the hue, saturation, and the lightness of the color as well. All you need to know for web design is the hexadecimal color. So when you choose your color here, you can choose from millions of them. Then you take this hexadecimal value and you put that in your code. So if I want to see what this blue looks like here, I would just highlight this and I'll copy it. And let me go back to the Try It editor. And instead of the word tomato here, let's type in or just paste, right click, paste. And there's my hexadecimal code. Now, no space. It needs to be no spaces after that, and you don't need a semicolon. Looks just like that. Click Run, and now you can see there's that blue. So if you wanted to pause this and look at how I put that in instead of the orange color right there. Actually, I don't think you need a space there, but it looks like it worked anyway. You just put hashtag, and then your hexadecimal color value, and that's it. No spaces, no semicolon, nothing around that. You put it right after the colon, and that's where it goes. So that's how you choose your hexadecimal colors from a site like this, htmlcolorcodes.com. And typically, when you're starting to think about colors, one thing that works well for the web would be monochromatic color schemes, and you'll see that throughout the web. Monochromatic would be that if you pick a shade of blue as your main color, then you could choose 2 or 3 other shades that might work together with that, and then you'd pick an accent color, typically like a complementary color, like an orange would be an accent color. I'll show you some examples of different color schemes on here. And actually, let me come back to this website last. I've got another website here. It's colormatters.com, if you can see the URL right there. And if you want to learn more about color theory, you can do that. And I'm not really going to count off too much for colors in this class unless they affect the readability of your website. So, for example, if you use like a really bright red background and then you use a red text that's hard to read on top of it, something like that would be a major problem. Or contrast, if you use a dark colored background and you use a dark colored text on top of that. So you have to have good contrast, you have to have your color standing out. But as far as choosing colors, that can be difficult in a beginning web design class, so I'll cut you a little slack there. This basic color theory page, what I'm on here, if you click on color and design and basic color theory, the first one, you can see that they give you some color wheels and some different ways to choose colors. So if you scroll down here, you'll see like some formulas for color harmony and a color scheme based on complementary colors. So for example, if you did choose some shades of blue here, you'll see that the opposite of that is orange, and that would work for an accent color. So if you choose 2 or 3 shades of blue, then you can choose the orange for the accent color for like a logo to make it stand out, or for your menu or buttons or something like that. So that's something that you can read through when you have time and look at color schemes. And here is Adobe's color site. It's color.adobe.com, and it has a lot of ready-made themes for you to choose from, and you can get these hexadecimals and try them out together. So let me go to Explore here at the top. I think it defaults to like the color wheel. Okay, so let me scroll through here and I'll choose one of these, take a little closer look at one of these themes. And so let's take this one. So you can see how these colors are muted, means that they're not really intense, so they're not highly saturated. If you're talking about a saturated color, that would be like the most intense version of that color. So if you see where my mouse is over on the right hand side, in this area of red, that would be a highly saturated red. And those colors that are highly saturated, you know, red, blue, yellow, those do not work well on a web in large form. So like if you took this red and made that your background color, that's a problem. You know, no one wants to look at that. That's why you're going to see with these color themes, colors that are muted, and they just work better together and they work better for your website. And then you want to save the highly saturated, the bright colors for accent areas of your site that you want to draw attention to. So that's what you want to think about when you're first starting to choose your colors here. So if I say, well, you know, this is a nice color over here, maybe I want to see what that would look like. Click on it and then look down at the bottom. You'll see the hexadecimal color right here. So that's 623F3B. So then I'll come back here and I can just try that out. So I type that in and I'll click run, and there's that color right there. So that's just one piece of advice I think when you're choosing colors, and a couple sites here to start out with. So if you were going to go with a monochromatic theme, you might choose 1 or 2 of these, and then you choose the accent color. You know, maybe that would work as an accent color in this particular case, or maybe you could change these sliders around and get something that might fit a little better for you to stand out. You know, maybe that would work better for your logo, things like that. So that's Adobe's color website. And then one other site if you wanted to check out and use for inspiration. Now these are very graphic heavy sites. People have maxed out Photoshop, and they've got a lot of full screen photos on there, so they're pretty advanced in terms of design, but colors are really nice to look at on these sites. This is that the AWWW Awards and the Colorful, the website /Colorful will give you the ones that have some interesting uses of color. So if you look at this one right here from Adidas, you can see how they use yellow for the accent color, and then grayscale, different shades of gray for the background. So that's your typical way that you're going to draw attention to part of your image. You'll also see that there's not any really bright colors that stand out here when you're looking through the different color schemes. There's a monochromatic green, which is pretty interesting. So if you have a chance and you want to look through these and check them out, they'll give you some nice examples of artists who have really focused on the color of the website. So that's really all I wanted to say in this particular tutorial. What I would recommend is that you start choosing your color codes with the hexadecimal colors. That's the hashtag, and then followed by the 6 digits. And you can use a site like this to start out. Stay away from the highest saturated colors on the color scheme, which would be like that, for example, that red. Stay away from those for large areas of your screen. Pay attention to how your text looks on whatever color you choose. So if you use a dark color for your background, you wouldn't want to use another dark color for the text. That's simple contrast and readability, so pay attention to that. And then you'd also want to stay away from putting two highly saturated colors together. So if you take like a highly saturated green with a red, that would be a major problem for accessibility and usability of your website. Same thing with blues. Just don't put really highly saturated colors together. And then start looking at these different websites that I mentioned if you want to learn more about color theory.